Hey guys, we're back, and take a look at that animation. That beautiful rendition of my avatar and trusty Polytoad was done by my personal friend, Dinopuff, from the Weird Us channel. They're one of the most talented animators I've ever met, so please go check out their stuff. There's a link in the description. Go and watch all their videos. Right, today we're venturing with our newly acquired starters into the Ryoma region's Route 1 to see what this exotic region has to offer. If you've never played a Pokemon game before, let me catch you up to speed. In order to allow the player to pad out their team before the first gym or main game event, every region's first route will house a set of often normal type Pokemon that begin weak and grow alongside you and your team as you take on the gyms. Game Freak like to keep these kinds of Pokemon as a certain type of basic animal to help introduce players to the design conventions of Pokemon using familiar creatures. There is always a 2-stage normal type rodent / small mammal Pokemon, and a mostly 3 but sometimes 2-stage bird Pokemon with the flying type. These Pokemon have always been fan favourites, but I often thought a lot less thought went into them than many other Pokemon designs, like they couldn't come up with a better name than Talonflame. It's just Talon and Flame, like at least smush them together a little or something. This was until Game Freak announced my favourite of the many early game Pokemon to date, Corviknight. This guy is just so cool, man. It's just such a visually impressive, imposing design, with a starter-like cohesive through line to its pre-evolutions, demonstrating the progression of a rook to a squire and into a knight. This made me, and many other Pokemon creators, realise that Route 1 Pokemon can be just as well thought out as any other, and I hope to demonstrate that today. So let's begin with our regional rodent. If I had to describe the current 8 regional rodents and their design decisions, I might say that they are an exercise in taking the sweetest, cutest little creature and evolving it into the ugliest abomination I think I've ever seen. But honestly, that's kind of part of the charm of these guys. I think Furret and Linoon are exempt from this, as they're just as cute as their pre-evolutions, but the gruff and ratty appearance of the regional rodents when they evolve is actually very effective at conveying their increase in strength. Diggersby may be hard to look at, but I know that this thick construction worker rabbit will be able to dish out the pain when it switches into battle, at least during the early game. Now, to decide which rodent I'll be using as a basis for this Pokemon, let's look once again to our area of origin, South and Central America. As far as rodents go, the choice is obvious. I got a few comments asking for a Capybara Pokemon as a regional rodent, and I am more than happy to oblige. Check these guys out. Capybaras are semi-aquatic rodents native to South America and are the largest rodents in the world. They live in densely forested areas, along rivers and in marshes. Because of this, they are superb swimmers and can hold their breath for up to 5 minutes. Lots of water-related stuff, eh? I wonder where this line could possibly be headed. Let's check out the first evolution. Starting out, I just wanted a simple Capybara Pokemon, nothing too complex, with just a few hints as to where the line will be headed with the evolution. Something you'll notice as I draw today's 5 new Pokemon is that it takes me a few tries before I'm happy with the final result, which often equates to me line arting, colouring and shading a sketch before I realise I hate it and have to start over. The starter definitely came a lot easier to me than these guys, but I think it's all worked out in the end. I begin by creating a much stubbier, fat version of a Capybara Pokemon, much more like a guinea pig. While that kind of interspecies evolution progression is something I like in Pokemon, I wanted to just stick with the Capybara for this design, so I ended up scrapping the first one. I think this second design really came together in a way I didn't expect. I think making the Pokemon taller to reflect the height and size of real capybaras helped to distinguish it from the other base form regional rodents, and the face I decided on was just really cute. I struggled with both stages to make the buck teeth natural and not ugly looking, but I think it really works here. It's goofy without being ugly. Finally, the ears took the shape of the flapping ends of a knot, which is meant to subtly signify the shape of a head bandana, something often worn by pirates or people who spend time in or around the ocean. Now, check out this deck entry I wrote for this Pokemon. Burana, the Wade Pokemon, normal type. Of the many small rodent Pokemon across the Pokemon world, Burana is the largest by far. Some will even offer children a ride on their back. However, if they become distracted, Burana will scamper off, taking the child with them. Burana spend most of their lives by the water, grazing on seagrass from the pools by the swift brooks. Despite this, they are poor swimmers and yearn to be able to venture out into the treacherous Rheomian waters. Burana's old design was really just a vessel for its evolution, and I really didn't put all that much energy or effort into the design of it. I'm far happier with this new design, and I think it would be a desirable first encounter for trainers on Route 1. I hope you think the same. Right, now it's time for this Pokemon to evolve. Moving on to Burana's evolution, I wanted to run with the idea that capybaras are very proficient in water, and I felt that a theme of surfing could help to develop the tropical side of the Ryoma region. Maybe this Pokemon could play into some mini-game similar to Mantine Surf, or maybe it acts as a replacement for the Surf Hitchhim, as it helps you traverse on a board similar to Let's Go. The problem was that I was having a really tough time thinking up a design for it. My problem was that I was strangely fond of my original design for this Pokemon, and I wanted to find a way to incorporate the specific design elements of it into the new version. You'll see later that it really wasn't all I thought it was though. The bottom line is, I wanted to make it cute, but that's just not the vibe of a regional rodent. So I decided to get a little more experimental with it. Eventually, I decided on a design that I'm quite happy with. My main design goals here were to incorporate the various surfer hairstyles into the design of a capybara. I tied the locks back to create a slick back surfer look. I tried running with the bandana idea, but in the end, the best design comes from working with the messy and sea-swept hair that many surfers have, as it works with the mane of hair that real capybaras possess. I also tried to incorporate the idea of swimming trunks through patterning and attempt to give it the demeanour of being chilled out yet determined. Unfortunately, there was no way to incorporate the actual board into the design that I could think of, so I stylized the tail fluff to look like ocean waves crashing behind it. In the end, although it took a long time, I ended up really loving this Pokemon. Now, let's check out its Pokédex entry. Cappycrash, the Wipeout Pokemon, normal and water type. Cappycrash are known for their chilled out attitude and talent for aquatic mobility. They float on the water, using their buoyancy to ride the waves in the ocean. Their passion rarely lies with battling as much as it does with surfing, but Cappycrash can still be strong allies. Alolan tourists observe the dazzling display of aquatic prowess that Cappycrash shows during a trip to Ryoma many years ago. This inspired the sport of Mantine surfing, which is popular in Alola. Here's the old Cappycrash design if you were interested. I originally sketched it with these super strong black lines, which worked pretty well to make it seem thick and cutesy, but it didn't translate so well to the thinner lines of the Pokemon art style, which honestly made it look pretty ugly. I was still hung up on that first sketch though, so it took me a while to get over it and try something better. So what did you think of Ryoma's regional rodent? Try saying that 5 times fast. I'm a big fan, but let me know your opinions in the comments. Would you catch a Burana? I personally don't often use a regional rodent unless I'm nuzlocking, and I get the feeling that maybe you guys don't either. That's quite alright. There's still another Pokemon that you might like. Why don't we take a look now? When designing Fakemon, many people instantly look to certain places for inspiration, whether that be in an unrepresented type combination or an animal that just doesn't have a Pokemon counterpart yet. I think a trap can be that they want to correct an injustice rather than actually having a good idea for a Pokemon. These two factors can, of course, come together, and I think I might just have an idea for a certain underrepresented animal. When considering a regional bird for a South and Central America based region, there are an insane amount of choices to go with. I already tackled a macaw for my fire starter, so that's off the table. But there's the eccentric birds of paradise, the rhea, the harpy eagle, even the Galapagos finches. And I certainly have some future plans for some of those. There's of course the toucan, so expect to see plenty of toucanon in the Ryomian jungle. How about this? I think a lot of fans would agree that the lack of hummingbird Pokemon is positively criminal. And with a sizable percentage of the hummingbird population residing in South America, I think it's time I created one. Hummingbirds are a bird species native all over the Americas. They are small, with the largest species reaching only 20 centimeters in length. The sound of their beating wings creates a hum, hence their name, and they beat these wings up to 80 times per second, a feature that I'll exaggerate in the coming design. Let's take a look. One thing that makes me gush so much over Corviknight is its use and relevance to the mechanics of the game it's in. Corviknight Taxi, while I wish it had a cooler animation, is such a great concept and works really well with the British influence of Galar. I think that if my original bird provided a similar service, then I'd have done it justice. While researching hummingbirds in their folklore and relevance to different cultures, one thing stuck out to me. In Aztec culture, hummingbirds are said to be the messengers between the Aztec people and the gods. This put in my mind the idea of a little carrier pigeon hummingbird hybrid that delivers messages. In fact, I could go all the way, making it into a little postman bird who delivers letters between you and the professor throughout the game. The postman theme just ended up working so incredibly well. I found it difficult in previous designs to add the iconic hat, but simulating a brim through patterns in this design just came so naturally. And of course, the best part of this design, the tie. It really ties the whole design together, and oh my god, do I love this little baby bird. The postman theme will develop further in the next designs, and I think this was probably the perfect way to start the line. I think it really captures the essence of a modern Route 1 bird. Let's check out its Pokédex entry. Hitchhim, the hitchhiker Pokemon. Flying type. Hitchim's wings beat approximately 100 times per second, but despite this they are not at all fast. In order to combat the high amounts of energy that travelling consumes, they will hitch a ride on larger bird Pokemon for many miles. Hitchim must drink lots of nectar if they want to continue flying. Their high energy consumption means that they are often tired in the winter months. The old design for Hitchim was for sure one of my worst. The wings were ugly, the face was ugly. My dumb attempt at conveying a postman hat is so pitiful that it's almost phallic. I felt that getting rid of the long beak here was a worthy sacrifice, as it was difficult to convey, made it much less cute, and also helps to show how this first stage is part carrier pigeon. Don't worry though, you'll get your long hummingbird beak soon enough. The behaviour I mentioned, where they'll hitch a ride on larger birds, is based on an old wives' tale about hummingbirds doing exactly that. Except it works with the design here, as it must be hard for such tiny Pokemon to deliver so much post. Perhaps it needs a little extra strength. let's check out the evolution. My god, was this Pokemon a pain in the butt to design. I was stuck between making a proper, developed postal service hummingbird, and with amping up the nectar-obsessed nature of the Pokemon, making it go crazy on a sugar rush. You can see in my first attempt that I tried the latter, but it honestly looked terrible. The huge quiff was a joke, and it looked way too similar to my old version, but in a pose that, while enjoyable to try something different, did the already minimal design absolutely no favours. I then attempted a middle ground where the Pokemon was a lot more dazed rather than on a nectar sugar rush. It was okay, but it honestly still felt super off. I liked the long beak, but the wings were far too extravagant for a middle evolution, and the attempt at bow tie patterning mixed with the fluffy hat puff was far more Magic Mike than it was Postman Pat. It had some good ideas, but in my final design, I realised I needed to go all the way with the Postman aesthetic. My idea for this was to curl the beak all the way down the front of the Pokemon, as if it was the strap of a postage bag. It's a little unorthodox, but I think it would make for some really fun attack animations in the games. Maybe it's even extendable. Using one simple black feather for the brim of the hat was also a good idea, and the fluff on top works well too for the hat's main body. Ditching the more stereotypically hummingbirdish wings also helped, as it's clear that it can deliver post and emote without losing the obvious fact that it's a hummingbird. I also think the choice to make it more serious rather than crazed or dazed works well as a segue into the final evolution. Let's take a look at this Pokemon's Dex entry. Nectarsal, the postage Pokemon, flying type. With their long and strange beaks, Nectarsal can reach up to 5 feet away from them at a time, making stocking up on nectar energy very efficient. It acts as a straw, sucking up sweet liquid into Nectarsal's mouth. Nectarsal are employed and trained by the Ryomian Postal Service, and are excellent at delivering letters and mail to even the most remote of locations. Their long, posable beak maximises their efficiency. If I'm honest, I'm still quite fond of my old rendition of Nectarsal, but it's another Pokemon that doesn't quite translate into actually being drawn well. The mismatched eyes and huge quiff make it look a little wild, which was good, but it really lacked detail and the tail was just god-awful. I think the new version is far more cohesive, but maybe you like the old one better. If that's the case, I'd love to see an improved version of this old design. You can find it, and me, over at Ryoma Region on Instagram. Maybe I'll get around to modernising classic Nectarsal someday. Alright, now it's time to fully evolve our hummingbird. Okay, so Hitchhim's final evolution is absolutely packed with design elements, so stick with me. My main aim for this Pokemon was to take it from a simple messenger between people into a real messenger of the gods, true to the folklore. Some other facts and folklore that I picked up when researching this line will also come into play in this final evolution. For example, the Native Americans believed hummingbirds to be symbols of peace, love and healing. I think that between their pink colour scheme, imagery of peace, affinity for sweet nectar, and angelic messenger status, there was no secondary type more perfect than fairy for this final hummingbird. The bird takes cues from the religious messengers of Christianity, slightly resembling the classic rendition of an angel. Not a biblically accurate one though, that would make for a far different design. However, much of the design comes from this Pokemon not only being based on a messenger of the gods, but a god itself. The Aztec deity Huitzilopochtli, there is no chance I said that right, was the god of the sun and of war. and was often represented in art as a hummingbird. This god played a lot into the adornments of this Pokemon, with the mask-like face markings, collar, and shoulder plates referencing its warrior status. The crown headpiece also works for this, but is also used to symbolise the rising sun, as Huitzilopochtli is the sun god and the war god after all. The idea of it being a warrior also explains its almost muscular build, which I think is something that could maybe put people off from this design. But I wanted to reference the human forms of these Aztec gods in a way that I wasn't able to with Quetzalcoatl, so I'm incredibly pleased with that decision personally. God aspects aside, it's still a postman of sorts, demonstrated by its head plume in the shape of a letter, which I think is a fun touch. I also think this Pokemon subverts expectations in many ways, which I'm happy with. Hummingbird Fakemon can be very samey, as they're always dainty and ribbon covered. A huge warrior hummingbird not only subverts the expectations set by the real animal, but also the expectations of the fairy type, following Grimmsnarl and Zacian in the idea that not all fairies are cutesy. I hope you like this Pokemon, because I certainly do. Let's check out its Dex entry. Hermiary, the messenger Pokemon. Flying and fairy type. Trusted to carry the secrets of legendary Pokemon, Hermiary serve as the messengers of Ryoma's most important and powerful Pokemon. It is trustworthy to the last word and has a folk status as the messenger of the gods. Feeling obsolete due to the convenience of modern technology, Hermiary have an immense distaste for online messaging. They do not often show up in towns and cities, but will often attack cell towers. Before we look at the old design I came up with, check out this shiny. The gorgeous colour scheme is themed around Fire Emblems, Edelgard von Hresvelg of all things, and was done by the Exalted Marthmello on Instagram. Go check them out if you get the chance. This design changed in many ways from the original, but not too much. However, I think the changes I did make really helped to exemplify the inspirations that went into this one. For example, the tail on the new Hermiary gives this Pokemon a lot of grace despite its bulky build, but can also act as a perch for tired Hitchhim to ride on, which is incredibly sweet. So sweet in fact that I got it animated. Please take a look at this. Did you see that? How insanely cool was that? Of course, this animation was done once again by incredible animator Dinopuff. You've done such a wildly fantastic job of bringing my creations to life, and it's so surreal and amazing seeing the majestic Hermiary soaring right in front of my eyes. I'm begging you, make sure to subscribe to their YouTube at The Weird Us, and while you're at it, subscribe to mine. What did you all think of today's Fakemon? Which was your favourite? More videos from the Ryoma region coming very soon, so look forward to that. Check out this awesome pixel art that Angel Snack made for me on Artfight. You can find them on Tumblr at Angel Snack. Go follow my Twitter and Instagram too. I also recently opened a Patreon that you guys can all follow, so make sure to do that as well. See you guys next time.